Do you believe that hard work alone guarantees success? Or do you think intelligence is all that matters? Today's story will challenge both beliefs, because sometimes the one who reaches the finish line first is not the fastest runner, but the one who chooses the right path. Welcome to Buddha and Mindfulness, where you will find stories that heal, inspire, and awaken inner wisdom. Today, let us listen to a touching story about two students and an old teacher to understand that while effort is necessary, wisdom is the true guiding light on our path. In a small village nestled in a green valley, there was an old school that had aged with time. There, Teacher Albert, nearly 70 years old with snow-white hair, continued to teach every day with dedication. Despite his age, he maintained a burning passion for his work and deep affection for his students, just like in the early days of his career. In his class were two very special students, Robbin and Susan. Robbin came from a middle-class family, fully supported by his parents to focus solely on his studies. He studied diligently from morning till night, believing that hard work was the only key to success. In contrast, Susan was the son of a poor farmer. He worked with his father in the fields during the day and only had time to study at night under a dim oil lamp. Despite the difficult circumstances, Susan held a strong belief in the power of knowledge. One evening, while Susan was studying, his father entered the house from the fields, tired and frustrated. He shouted, "Why are you still studying? We're so poor. Will studying put food on the table?" Susan held back a sigh, looked up with determined eyes, and softly said, "Father, if I don't study, we'll remain poor forever. I'm not studying for money. I'm studying to change our lives." His father said nothing more. That night, Susan did not sleep. Even though he was tired, he kept studying late into the night because he knew he had very little time but carried great dreams within him. In the quiet and darkness, his determination glowed brighter than the lamp. One morning, Teacher Albert called both Robbin and Susan and said, "This is your final test. Climb to the top of the mountain behind the village and bring me a special flower. The one who returns first will be the winner." Both students accepted the challenge with eager eyes and determined hearts. The next morning, Robbin rushed off like the wind, climbing the steep mountainside, drenched in sweat and exhausted, yet he didn't stop. Susan, however, took his time. He stopped to ask an old man by the road, "Sir, is there an easier way to reach the top?" The old man smiled kindly. "There's a narrow path behind the mountain. It's steeper, but much easier." Susan thanked him, followed the path, conserved his strength, and moved steadily forward. Eventually, Robbin reached the top of the mountain, soaked in sweat, heart pounding as if it would burst. But what he saw left him stunned. Susan had already picked the flower and was calmly walking down. Both returned to Teacher Albert. Robbin bowed his head and whispered, "I tried so hard, but I was still late." The teacher looked at them and gently smiled. "Robbin, you worked very hard, but you forgot that sometimes the more effective path lies in observation and thought. Susan, you were smart in choosing the easier route, but remember, the shortest path is not always the right one." The two students bowed their heads. Robbin said, "I understand now, teacher. Hard work alone is not enough." Susan added, "I also realize now, taking the easy path doesn't always lead to true success." The teacher placed his hands on both of their heads and said, "Success only comes when we combine intelligence with perseverance. Lacking either one, the path will never be complete." Years later, Robbin became a renowned scientist, while Susan grew into a successful entrepreneur. They both remembered their old teacher's lesson, learning to balance hard work with strategy in every step of their journey. One day, they returned together to their old village, standing before their now elderly teacher, whose hair had turned completely white. They both said, "Teacher, your final test changed our lives." Teacher Albert smiled with teary eyes and slowly replied, "I always believed you would succeed because you understood a simple yet profound truth. Success does not come from struggle alone or from shortcuts, but from the perfect blend of wisdom and unwavering effort." Thank you for listening to today's story from Buddha and Mindfulness. If you feel tired on your journey, remember, sometimes all it takes is a little observation, a little thinking, and you will find an easier path. But also never forget, no path is truly meaningful without the steps of dedication. See you again in the next stories, where the soul is illuminated by wisdom and compassion.